So I'm David Hallway, and I'm in Isla del Cerrito along the banks of the Rio Paraná in north-central Argentina. And we're studying interactions between red-imported fire ants and the Argentine ant in the ecosystems in which these species are native. These two ant species are the most important invasive ants in the United States. They're also important urban pests, the fire ant in the southeast, the Argentine ant in coastal California and portions of Hawaii. And despite the fact that the biology of these species is fairly well known, especially from the perspective of why they become pests, their ecology in Argentina is not very well known. And one of the overarching goals of this research project is to try to understand how the ecosystems in which these species evolved, and especially how species interactions between fire ants and Argentine ants and other behaviorally dominant ants might have influenced their success as invaders. So Argentine ants and fire ants consume many of the same kinds of resources, such as this grasshopper. Fire ants protect resource finds through a behavior known as gaster flagging, where workers will raise their abdomen above their body and extrude a droplet of venom, which acts to repel ants such as the Argentine ant. So on the tree in front of me, you can see mealybugs being tended by mound-building carpenter ants. And this is an example of a food for protection mutualism that ants commonly participate in. Honeydew-producing insects like mealybugs provide ants with food, which is essentially partially digested plant sap. And the ants protect the honeydew-producing insects from their enemies, such as parasitoid wasps. One hypothesis that we're testing is whether differences in the availability of these types of resources between native populations of ants, such as the Argentine ant and the red-imported fire ant, and introduced populations may contribute to the success of invasive ants. So behind me is the confluence of the Paraná and Paraguay rivers. These two rivers collectively form a watershed which drains much of central South America, and the floodplain woodlands along these rivers are important habitat for Argentine ants and fire ants, which nest and feed along the banks of the rivers. Argentine ants, for instance, nest in the rack that's deposited by river currents, and both species feed on fish that are washed ashore. The ability to thrive in these flood-prone environments brings the two ants in contact with people as well, and perhaps most importantly, brings them in contact with boat traffic. And boats were the original source of introduction for the two ants between 75 and 100 years ago. Research here in Argentina has revealed important clues as to why invasive ants, such as the Argentine ant, become so successful as invaders. And in the future, we'd like to uncover and identify the biotic and abiotic factors that are responsible for the success of other invasive ants as well.